Hello everyone, myself Bismi Picharian, Assistant Professor at Suresh Ganviha University. Today I'm going to discuss about the chemistry of antihypertensive drugs. Learning objectives of this topic. This lesson will help the students to understand the mechanism of action and the uses of the antihypertensive drugs. Learning outcomes. After this lesson, students will be able to describe the SCR mechanism of action and the uses of the antihypertensive drugs. So we have already discussed about the what is hypertension and all in the previous class. So let's see once again what is hypertension. So hypertension is defined as the physiological condition. Okay, this is a physiological condition where there is an increase in the arterial blood pressure above normal. Okay, so hypertension is the physiological. It is defined as the physiological condition where there is an increase in the arterial blood pressure above the normal. So normal blood pressure is 120 by 80 mmHg, and the individual is hypertensive when the BP is above 140 bar 90 mmHg. So an individual is hypertensive when the BP is above 140 bar 90 mmHg. So normal blood pressure is 120 by 80 mmHg when the person has the BP above the 140 bar 90. So he or she is a hypertensive patient. So this is the hypertension means increase in the blood pressure in the arterial. So above normal, so that is the hypertension. The normal range of the BP blood pressure is 120 by 80 mmHg. Hypotension may be defined as, okay, there is hypertension as well as the hypotension. Hypertension is means if the patient have the increased blood pressure above normal, and the hypotension is the condition where patient have the BP below normal. So hypotension may be defined as a physiological state where there is a decrease in BP than the normal. Okay, so hypertension means increase in the BP than the normal, above the normal, and hypotension is the decrease in the BP than the normal. An individual is said to be hypotensive when the BP is less than 90 bar 60 mmHg. Okay, so individual, okay, or a person said to be a hypotensive when the BP is less than 90 bar 60 mmHg. So this is all about the hypertension and the hypotension. Okay, so we have studied that what is hypertension and what is hypotension. Okay, if a patient have the BP above 140 divide 140 by 90, so he is a hypertensive patient. And if the patient have the BP below 90 bar 60, so that patient is hypotensive. Okay, so this is the difference between the hypertension and the hypotensive. And the normal blood pressure range is 120 by 80. And here hypertension is divided into two types. Okay, hypertension is divided into two types. So we have already discussed about these all the things in the previous class. So primary hypertension, that is known as essential hypertension. Secondary hypertension, that is known as malignant hypertension. So the cause of the primary hypertension is unknown, the etiology is unknown. The secondary hypertension means the hypertension that is related with other diseases, means renal diseases and all. So the hypertension is related with other diseases is known as secondary hypertension. Primary hypertension may be due to the hereditary, or due to the higher amount of intake of the sodium and the less intake of the potassium, or maybe the age. Okay, as the age increases, the primary hypertension may occur. So in primary or essential hypertension is in the majority of the cases where etiology is unknown. Okay, so in this primary hypertension, the etiology is unknown, and it is known as the primary hypertension. So in the primary hypertension, the etiology is unknown. Okay, the following factor may contribute to elevate of BP. Okay, so these are some factors that elevate the blood pressure. So that may be a first factor is dietary intake. Okay, dietary intake of more sodium and less potassium. Okay, that is the main reason of primary hypertension. And in some cases, primary hypertension may be hereditary. Okay, that may be genetic. And advancement of age means as the age increases, the chances of the primary hypertension will be increases. Decreased vascular synthesis of nitric oxide is another reason for the primary hypertension. Okay, the synthesis of the nitric oxide is reduced. That is again the cause of the primary hypertension. So these are some factors that maybe elevate the blood pressure. In the secondary hypertension, where the etiology can be identified, means this secondary hypertension that is associated with other diseases, means renal diseases, adrenal diseases, muscular diseases, renal artery stenosis, encephalitis. So, or if any patient have taken the oral contraceptives, there is again chance of the secondary hypertension. So these all are the factors that cause the primary hypertension and the secondary hypertension. Causes of the hypertension. Okay, so that may be age. Okay, that may be age. As the age increases, there is a chance of hypertension. 95% of the cases is unknown. Okay, so next, arterial disease also cause the hypertension. Okay, arterial disease that also cause the hypertension. Oversynthesis of the hormone is again the reason for the hypertension. Okay, oversynthesis of the hormone is the reason for the hypertension. Drug, alcohol, and the liquor is okay. If any patient, if a human being or anybody have take the drugs, alcohol, and the liquorize, there's again chances of the hypertension. And some genetic factors are also the causes of the hypertension. And renal disease. Okay, renal disease again the causes of the hypertension. So there are lots of causes are there for the hypertension. So the first one, age, renal disease, genetic factors, drug, alcohol, and the liquorize, oversynthesis of the hormone, and arterial disease, and 95% of the cause is unknown. So these all are the causes of the hypertension. Okay, so there are two types of the hypertension: primary hypertension and the secondary hypertension. Secondary hypertension is associated with some diseases. Okay, and the primary hypertension, that is caused due to the increase in the age, due to the dietary intake of more sodium and less potassium. So these all are the factors that that causes the hypertension in the human beings. So let's see some examples of the hypertension. Antihypertensive agents. So we have seen some drugs in the previous class. So next drug is clonidine. Okay, so the clonidine is an alpha-2 adrenergic agonist. Okay, clonidine is an alpha-2 adrenergic agonist, and this is the structure of the clonidine. Okay, this is the structure of the clonidine, and this clonidine is an alpha-2 adrenergic agonist. Sorry. Okay, alpha-2 adrenergic agonist. Let's see the mechanism of action. Clonidine stimulates the alpha adrenoreceptors in the brain stem. Okay, so what this clonidine do? Clonidine stimulate the alpha adrenoreceptors in the brain stem. Okay, in the brain stem, the alpha adrenoreceptors is stimulated by the clonidine. When the patient is taking this clonidine, that stimulate the alpha adrenoreceptors in the brain stem. And this action results in reduced sympathetic outflow from the central nervous system. Okay, so when this alpha adrenoreceptor stimulates, okay, that action results in reduced sympathetic outflow. Okay, that reduces the sympathetic outflow from the central nervous system, and the decreases in peripheral resistance, renal vascular resistance, heart rate, and the blood pressure. Okay, so what this clonidine do? Clonidine stimulate the alpha adrenoreceptors. Okay, clonidine stimulate the alpha adrenoreceptors in the brain stem. Okay, in the brain stem, the alpha adrenoreceptor is stimulated by the clonidine, and that action, that stimulation results in the reduced sympathetic outflow from the central nervous system. Okay, so this stimulation of alpha adrenoreceptors that results in reduced sympathetic outflow from the central nervous system, and that decreases in peripheral resistance, renal vascular resistance, heart rate, and the blood pressure. So when this alpha adrenoreceptor stimulated by this clonidine in the brain stem, that results in the decrease in the peripheral resistance, decrease in heart rate, decrease in the renal vascular resistance, as well as the decrease in the blood pressure. So clonidine, what is clonidine? Clonidine is an alpha 2 adrenergic agonist. Okay, alpha 2 adrenergic agonist, and it stimulates the alpha adrenoreceptor in the brain stem, and that stimulation results in reduced sympathetic outflow from the central nervous system and decreases the peripheral resistance, renal vascular resistance, heart rate, and the blood pressure. So let's see the uses of the clonidine. Clonidine is used in the treatment of high blood pressure, hyperactivity disorder, diarrhea, and some pain conditions. So clonidine we are using in the treatment of high blood pressure, on in the hyperactivity disorder, diarrhea, and some pain conditions. So clonidine is an alpha 2 adrenergic agonist, and its mechanism of action is it stimulates the alpha adrenoreceptors in the brainstem. Okay, in the brainstem, the alpha adrenoreceptor is stimulated by the clonidine, and that action results in the reduced or decrease the heart rate and the blood pressure. So this is all about the clonidine, and the clonidine is used in the treatment of high blood pressure, hyperactivity disorder, diarrhea, and some pain conditions. Next drug is guanethidine monosulfate. Okay, guanethidine monosulfate. So this is the structure of the guanethidine monosulfate. Okay, guanethidine monosulfate structure is this, and this guanethidine monosulfate is a organic sulfate salt. Okay, so this guanethidine monosulfate is a organic sulfate salt, or it is a organic sulfate salt that is obtained from the guanethidine and the sulfuric acid in a 1:1 ratio. Okay, so this is obtained from the guanethidine and the sulfuric acid in a 1:1 ratio. So this guanethidine monosulfate is a organic sulfate. Okay, organic sulfate salt. Guanethidine monosulfate is the organic sulfate salt that is obtained from the guanethidine and the sulfuric acid in the 1:1 ratio. So the structure of this guanethidine monosulfate is this. Let's see the mechanism of action of guanethidine monosulfate. So guanethidine monosulfate is an antihypertensive agent. Okay, it's an antihypertensive agent that act by inhibiting selectively transmission in the post-ganglionic adrenergic nerves. Okay, so what this do, that in this guanethidine monosulfate inhibit selectively transmission in the post-ganglionic adrenergic nerves, and it is believed to act mainly by preventing the release of norepinephrine at nerve endings. Okay, so it is believed that, okay, so it is not confirmed, means the guanethidine monosulfate how this works. So it is believed to act mainly by preventing the release of norepinephrine. Okay, it prevent the release of norepinephrine at the nerve endings. Okay, and cause depletion of norepinephrine in peripheral sympathetic nerve terminals as well as the tissues. Okay, so what this guanethidine monosulfate do, that inhibiting selectively transmission in the post-ganglionic adrenergic nerves, as well as it prevents the release of the norepinephrine at the nerve endings. Okay, so at the nerve endings, the norepinephrine is released, and that is prevented by this guanethidine monosulfate. and that cause depletion of norepinephrine in the peripheral sympathetic nerve terminal as well as in the tissue. So these all. So this guanethidine monosulfate is that act by inhibiting the selectively transmission in the postganglionic adrenergic nerves, and it also prevent the release of norepinephrine at the nerve endings. Okay, and also cause the depletion of norepinephrine in peripheral sympathetic nerve terminal as well as the tissue. So this is the mechanism of action of guanethidine monosulfate. This guanethidine monosulfate is a organic sulfate salt, and that is obtained from the guanethidine as well as the sulfuric acid in 1:1 ratio, and its mechanism of action is it acts by inhibiting the selectively transmission in the postganglionic adrenergic nerves, and it also prevent the release of norepinephrine at the nerve endings and cause depletion of the norepinephrine in peripheral sympathetic nerve as well as in the tissues. Okay, so depletion of norepinephrine is occur due to the guanethidine monosulfate in the sympathetic nerve terminal as well as in the tissues. Okay, so this is the mechanism of action of the guanethidine monosulfate. So let's see the uses of guanethidine monosulfate. So the guanethidine monosulfate is indicated for the treatment of moderate and the severe hypertension. Okay, so this guanethidine monosulfate is used in the treatment of moderate and the severe hypertension, either alone or as an adjunct, and for the treatment of renal hypertension, including that secondary to pyelonephritis, renal amyloidosis, and the renal artery stenosis. Okay, so these guanethidine monosulfate is indicated for the treatment of moderate and the severe hypertension. So first use of this drug is, this is used in the treatment of moderate to severe hypertension. Okay, either alone or as an adjunct, and in the treatment of renal hypertension. Okay, so in the treatment of renal hypertension also this guanethidine monosulfate is used. So this is all about this guanethidine monosulfate. So the guanethidine monosulfate is a organic sulfate salt. Okay, organic sulfate salt, and it is obtained from the guanethidine and the sulfuric acid in the 1:1 ratio, and the mechanism of action is it acts by inhibiting selectively transmission in the postganglionic adrenergic nerves, and it's also inhibit the release of the norepinephrine at the nerve endings as well as cause the depletion of norepinephrine at the nerve sympathetic nerve terminal as well as the tissue. And the use of this guanethidine monosulfate is this is used in the treatment of moderate and the severe hypertension. Next drug is guanabans acetate. Okay, next drug is guanabans acetate. So these all are drugs coming under in the category of antihypertensive drugs. Okay, so we are studying this antihypertensive drugs. So these all are coming under the antihypertensive drugs. So guanabans acetate is another antihypertensive agent, and this is the structure of the guanabans acetate. So this is very easy structure. We have to remember all the structure in the medicinal chemistry. So that is the main thing in this medicinal chemistry, as well as the SAR, mechanism of action, and the classification of particular category we have to remember. And some drug synthesis also, means the star mentioned in the syllabus that we have to learn the synthesis of particular drugs in that from the syllabus. So the guanabans acetate is the antihypertensive agent. Then this is the structure of this guanabans acetate. And the guanabans acetate is a centrally acting alpha 2 adrenergic receptor agonist. Okay, so this guanabans acetate is also an alpha 2 adrenergic receptor agonist. Okay, alpha 2 adrenergic receptor agonist. This is coming under the category of alpha 2 adrenergic receptor agonist. Let's see the mechanism of action of guanabans. So guanabans antihypertensive effect is thought to be due to the central alpha adrenergic stimulation. Okay, so this antihypertensive effect of guanabans is thought due to the central alpha adrenergic stimulation. Okay, and which results in a decreased sympathetic outflow to the heart, kidney, and the peripheral vasculature, in addition to a decreased systolic and the diastolic blood pressure and a slight slowing of pulse rate. So the mechanism of action is not confirmed of this guanabine acetate drug, but it is thought that it due to the central alpha adrenergic stimulation. Okay, this antihypertensive effect is thought to be due to central alpha adrenergic stimulation. Okay, and that results in decreased sympathetic outflow to the heart, kidneys, and the peripheral vasculature, in addition to a decreased systolic and the diastolic blood pressure and slightly slowing of pulse rate. Okay, so this is the mechanism of action. So mechanism of action of guanabans is not confirmed, but it is thought to be due to the central alpha adrenergic stimulation. Okay, this is due to the central alpha adrenergic stimulation. This shows the antihypertensive effect. So this is the mechanism of action. Chronic administration of guanabans also causes a decrease in the peripheral vascular resistance. Okay, if we administer this guanabans in larger dose, so that also causes the decrease in the peripheral vascular resistance. And use of this guanabans acetate, it is used to treat the high blood pressure. Okay, so this guanabans acetate's use is, it is used to treat the high blood pressure. So this is all about the guanabans acetate. Next drug is sodium nitroprusside. Okay, sodium nitroprusside. The structure of the sodium nitroprusside is this. This is the structure of sodium nitroprusside. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cyanide group is there. Okay, 5 cyanide group is there. So this is the structure of the sodium nitroprusside. And this nitroprusside is a direct acting vasodilator used to treat hypertension. Okay, so this nitroprusside is a direct acting vasodilator. Okay, this is the vasodilator drug, and that is used to treat the hypertension. So this nitroprusside is a direct acting vasodilator, and it is used to treat the hypertension. Let's see the mechanism of action of sodium nitroprusside. So one molecule of sodium nitroprusside is metabolized by combination with hemoglobin. Okay, so when this sodium nitroprusside is administered to the patient, so one molecule of nitroprusside that is metabolized by combination with the hemoglobin to produce one molecule of cyanomethaglobin. Okay, cyanomethaglobin and 4 cyanide ion methaglobin. Okay, and obtained from the hemoglobin can sequester cyanide as cyanomethaglobin. Thiosulfate react with the cyanide to produce thiocyanate, and thiocyanate is eliminated in the urine. Okay, in the urine, and cyanide not otherwise removed bind to the cytochromes. Cyanide ion is normally found in the serum. Okay, cyanide ion is normally found in the serum. It is derived from the dietary substrates and from the tobacco smokes. Okay, so what is the mechanism of action? One molecule of the sodium nitroprusside that metabolized by combination with the hemoglobin. Okay, that is metabolized by combination with the hemoglobin to produce the cyanomethaglobin. Okay, so metabolite of sodium nitroprusside and the hemoglobin is cyanomethaglobin. Okay, and 4 cyanide ions. Okay, 4 cyanide ions methaglobin, and methaglobin obtained from the hemoglobin, and that is sequester cyanide as cyanomethaglobin. Okay, cyanide methaglobin, and thiosulfate react with the cyanide to produce the thiocyanate. Okay, thiosulfate that reacted with the cyanide to produce the thiocyanate. Thiocyanate is eliminated in the urine. Cyanide and not otherwise removed bind to the cytochromes. Okay, that is bind to the cytochrome. And cyanide ion is normally found in the serum. It is derived from the dietary substrates and from the tobacco smoke. Cyanide bind to the ferrikine, most body stores of which are found in the erythrocyte methaglobulin and it mitochondrial cytochromes. When CN cyanide is infused or generated within the bloodstream, essentially all of it is found to methaglobulin until intra-erythrocytic methaglobulin has been saturated. Okay, when CN is infused or generated within the bloodstream, essentially all of it is bound to the methaglobulin. Okay, all of it bound to the methaglobulin until intra-erythrocytic methaglobulin has been saturated. Sodium nitroprusside is further broken down in circulation to release nitric oxide. Okay. So what this sodium nitroprusside do? Nitroprusside is further one molecule is bind with the that one molecule that bind with the hemoglobin produce the cyanomethaglobulin, and another molecule of sodium nitroprusside that further break down in the circulation to release the nitric oxide. Okay, nitric oxide is released, and due to the breakdown of the sodium nitroprusside, which activate guanylate cyclase in the vascular smooth muscle. Okay, sorry, the release of the nitric oxide that activate the guanylate cyclase. Okay, this release of the nitric oxide that activate the guanylate cyclase in the vascular smooth muscle. This leads in the increased production of intracellular CGMP. Okay, that leads in the increased production of the intracellular CGMP, which stimulates calcium ion movement from the cytoplasm to the endoplasmic reticulum. Okay, reducing the level of available calcium ion that can bind to the calmodulin. This ultimately result in the vascular smooth muscle relaxation and the vessel dilation. So this is the mechanism of action of sodium nitroprusside. So one molecule of the sodium nitroprusside is metabolized by combination with the hemoglobin to produce one molecule of the cyanomethaglobulin and 4 cyanide ions. Okay, and the methaglobulin that obtained from the hemoglobin can sequester cyanide as cyanomethaglobulin. Okay, thiosulfate that reacted with the cyanide to produce the thiocyanate. Thiocyanate is eliminated in the urine. Cyanide, not otherwise removed, binds to the cytochrome. Cyanide ion is normally found in the serum. It is derived from dietary substrate and from the tobacco smoke. Cyanide bind to the ferric ion. Okay, cyanide bind to the ferric ion. Most body store of which are found in the erythrocyte, that is methaglobulin, and in mitochondrial cytochromes. When cyanide is infused or generated within the bloodstream, essentially all of it is bound to the methaglobulin until intra-erythrocytic methaglobulin has been saturated. Okay, when cyanide is infused or generated within the bloodstream, essentially all of it is bound to the methaglobulin until intra-erythrocytic methaglobulin has been saturated. Sodium nitroprusside is further broken down in the circulation. Okay, sodium nitroprusside further broken down in the circulation to release nitric oxide, that is NO, and the release of the nitric oxide activate the guanylate cyclase. Okay, that activate the guanylate cyclase in the vascular smooth muscle. Okay, in the vascular smooth muscle, this guanylate cyclase is activated. Due to this activation of guanylate cyclase or the vascular smooth muscle, okay, due to the activation of the guanylate cyclase, that leads in the increased production of intracellular CGMP. Okay, when the guanylate cyclase that leads to increase in the production of intracellular CGMP, and that stimulate the calcium ion movement from the cytoplasm to the endoplasm reticulum. Okay, when the CGMP increase, the production of the CGMP increased, that stimulate the calcium ion. Okay, the calcium ion is stimulated by the increased production of CGMP, and which stimulate the calcium ion movement from the cytoplasm to the endoplasm reticulum, and reducing the level of available calcium ion that can bind to the calmodulin. Okay, so when the calcium ion is reduced, that leads in the vascular smooth muscle relaxation and the vessel dilation. So this is the mechanism of action of sodium nitroprusside. let's see the uses of this sodium nitroprusside. Sodium nitroprusside is a medication that is used in the management of acute hypertension. Okay, so this is the medication that is used in the management of acute hypertension. It is a potent vasodilator, and it is administered as an IV infusion with intensive monitoring in the place. Okay, so this is a potent vasodilator. Okay, so this is used in the treatment of the management of acute hypertension, and this is used as an IV infusion. Okay, this actively reviews the major indication and contraindication and the toxicity of sodium nitroprusside. So this sodium nitroprusside we are using in the management of acute hypertension. Okay, and it is given by the IV route. So this is the use of the sodium nitroprusside. Next drug is diazoxide. Diazoxide. So diazoxide is a thiazide drug. Okay, diazoxide is a thiazide drug, but it doesn't have any diuretic activity. Okay, why? Why it doesn't have any diuretic activity? Because it shows the antihypertensive activity, as well as it is also used in the treatment of hypoglycemia. Okay, so this diazoxide is a thiazide drug. Okay, thiazide drug. So why it doesn't show the diuretic activity? Let's see here. At the seventh position. Okay, at the seventh position there is no sulfonamide group. Okay, and that sulfonamide group is necessary for the activity of the drug. Okay, so there is no sulfonamide group, and we have to number from this 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. Okay, and at the sixth position there must be a chloride group or the fluoride group for the diuretic activity. At the seventh position there should be a sulfonamide group. So in this diazoxide there is no sulfonamide group, as well as there is no chloride group at the sixth position. Okay, there is chloride group at the seventh position, but that doesn't show the diuretic activity. So this diazoxide is a thiazide drug, but has no diuretic activity other like other thiazide, because this doesn't have the sulfonamide group as well as the chloride group at the sixth and seventh and sixth position. So diazoxide is an antihypertensive drug, and it is also used in the treatment of the hypoglycemia. Let's see the mechanism of action of diazoxide. So this drug inhibits the insulin release from the pancreas. Okay, this inhibit the insulin release from the pancreas by opening potassium channels in the beta cell membrane. Okay, how this inhibit the insulin release from the pancreas? By opening the potassium channel in the beta cell membrane. Diazoxide is a chemical related to the thiazide diuretics. Okay, so this diazoxide is chemically related to the thiazide diuretics, but doesn't inhibit the carbonic anhydrase. Okay, and does not have uretic or natriuretic activity. Okay, diazoxide is a thiazide diuretics, but doesn't have any diuresis activity. Okay, and this diazoxide inhibit the insulin release from the pancreas, and how this inhibit the release of the insulin from the pancreas? By opening the potassium channels in the beta cell membrane. Okay, and it also exhibit hypotensive activity by reducing the arteriolar smooth muscle and the vascular resistance. Okay, so this diazoxide, how this works as a antihypertensive drug? So it exhibit the hypotensive activity by reducing the arteriolar smooth muscle and the vascular resistance. Okay, arteriolar smooth muscle and the vascular resistance reduced by this diazoxide drug, and shows the antihypertensive activity. And this drug is a thiazide diuretic, but this doesn't show the diuresis activity or the diuretic activity, because this doesn't have the sulfonamide group at the seventh position and the chloride group at the sixth position. Okay, so because of that, this doesn't show the diuretic activity. For showing the diuresis activity, there should be a sulfonamide group present in the structure. So it inhibit the insulin release. Okay, diazoxide inhibit the insulin release from the pancreas by opening the potassium channels in the beta cell membrane. Okay, and this also exhibit the hypotensive activity by reducing arteriolar smooth muscle and the vascular resistance. So this is the mechanism of action of the diazoxide. Let's see the uses of the diazoxide. So this drug is used in the is used in parenterally to treat the hypertensive emergencies. Okay, so when this drug is given in parenterally route, so at that time it is to treat the hypertensive emergencies. Okay, and also used to treat hypoglycemia secondary to insulinemia. Okay, so this is used to treat the hypoglycemia also, and as well as the hypertensive agent. Next drug is minoxidil. Minoxidil, the structure of the minoxidil is this, and this minoxidil is usually administered with both the diuretic and the beta blocker. Okay, so minoxidil is acting as the diuretic activity. It has the diuretic activity and it is also a beta blocker drug, minoxidil. Let's see the mechanism of action of minoxidil. Minoxidil is thought to promote the survival of human terminal papillary cells or hair cells by acting both extracellular signal regulating and the AKT, and by preventing cell death by increasing the ratio of BCL to bags. Okay, so minoxidil is thought to promote the survival of human dermal papillary cells or hair cells by activating both extracellular signals. Okay, extracellular signal regulated kinase and the AKT. Okay, and by preventing cell death by increasing the ratio of BCL to bags. And minoxidil may stimulate the growth of human hair by prolonging anagen through these proliferative and the anti-apoptic effects on DPC. So minoxidil may stimulate the growth of a human hair by prolonging the anagen through these proliferative and the anti-apoptic effect on DPC. And minoxidil, when used as a vasodilator, acts by opening adenosine triphosphate sensitive potassium channels in vascular smooth muscle cells. Okay, so when this minoxidil, when used as a vasodilator, this act by opening adenosine triphosphate sensitive potassium channels in the vascular smooth muscle cell. This vasodilation may also improve the viability of the hair cells and the hair follicles. Okay, so what this minoxidil have the activity, minoxidil stimulate the growth of the human hair, as well as it is also used as a vasodilator. Okay, so these are the mechanism of action of minoxidil. Let's see the uses of minoxidil. So for the treatment of severe hypertension, okay, for the treatment of severe hypertension and in topical treatment of androgenic alopecia in males and the females, and the stabilization of hair loss in the patient with androgenic alopecia. So this minoxidil used in the treatment of severe hypertension as well as that topical treatment, means regrowth of adrenergic alopecia in the males and the females, and the stabilization of hair loss in the patient with the adrenergic alopecia. So these are the uses of the minoxidil. Next drug is reserpine. Okay, reserpine is in a class of medication called Rauwolfia alkaloids. Okay, this is coming under the category of Rauwolfia alkaloids. Okay, let's see the mechanism of action of reserpine. So reserpine's mechanism of action is through inhibition of ATP Mg2 plus pump, responsible for sequestering of neurotransmitters into storage vesicles located in the presynaptic neurons. Okay, so this reserpine mechanism of action is through inhibition of ATP Mg2 plus pump, responsible for the sequestering of neurotransmitters into storage vesicles located in the presynaptic neuron. The neurotransmitters that are not sequestered in the storage vesicle are readily metabolized by monoamine oxidase, that is MAO, causing in the reduction of catecholamine. Okay, catecholamine is reduced Okay, so these neurotransmitters that are not sequestered in the storage vesicles are readily metabolized by monoamine oxidase, causing a reduction of catecholamine. So this is the mechanism of action of reserpine. Let's see the uses of this reserpine. This drug is used in the treatment of hypertension. Okay, and our next drug is the hydralazine hydrochloride. Okay, hydralazine hydrochloride is our next drug, and this is used in the treatment of hypertension. And this is the structure of this hydralazine hydrochloride. And hydralazine is in the class of medication called vasodilator. Okay, so this is the vasodilator. Vasodilator. Okay, hydralazine is coming under the class of the vasodilator. Let's see the mechanism of action of this hydralazine. So hydrazine may interfere with the calcium transport in the vascular smooth muscles. Okay, so this drug may interfere with the calcium transport in the vascular smooth muscle by an unknown mechanism to relax arteriolar smooth muscle and the lower blood pressure. Okay, so this hydrazine may interfere with the calcium transport in the vascular smooth muscle by an unknown mechanism to relax arteriolar smooth muscle and the lower blood pressure. And the interference with calcium transport may be by preventing influx of calcium into cells, preventing calcium release from the intracellular compartments, directly acting on the actin and the myosin, and the combination of these actions. And this decrease in the vascular resistance leads to increased heart rate, stroke volume, and the cardiac output. Okay, so the interference with the calcium transport may be maybe by preventing the influx of calcium into the cells, preventing calcium release from the intracellular compartment, directly acting on the actin and the myosin, and or the combination of these action. And this decrease in the vascular resistance leads to increased heart rate, stroke volume, and the cardiac output. Hydralazine have also compete with protocollagen prolyl hydroxylase. Okay, protocollagen prolyl hydroxylase for free iron. Okay, this competition inhibits CPH mediated hydroxylation of HIF1 alpha, preventing the degradation of HIF1 alpha, induction of HIF1 alpha, and VEGF promote proliferation of endothelial cells and the angiogenesis. So this is the mechanism of action of hydralazine. Let's see the uses of this hydralazine drug. This hydralazine is indicated alone or adjunct to the standard therapy to treat the essential hypertension. Okay, so this hydralazine is used in the treatment of essential hypertension. A combination product with isosorbide dinitrate is indicated in the therapy of in the treatment of heart failure. Okay. So when this hydralazine is given in the combination with isosorbide dinitrate, so that is used in the treatment of heart failure. So these all are about the antihypertensive agents. So we have done with the antihypertensive agents. Let's see some MCQs of regarding this topic. So diazoxide is a diazoxide is a thiazide drug, AC inhibitor, loop diuretic, none. So the correct answer is thiazide drug. So diazoxide is a thiazide drug. Clonidine is an thiazide, alpha adrenergic agonist, beta blockers, AC inhibitor. So the correct answer is alpha 2 adrenergic agonist. Normal blood pressure is 120/80. Okay, 120/80 is the normal blood pressure. 30-year-old female took this antihypertensive vasodilator, then experienced extra hair growth over her body, especially her chest and the face. Which of the following drug the most likely this patient used? So minoxidil have the property of antihypertensive as well as the regrowth of the hair. So the minoxidil is the correct answer. C is the correct answer. Which among us the following is not a therapeutic use of the drug clonidine? So clonidine used treatment of low blood pressure, treatment of deficit disorder, treatment of menopausal flushing, None of the above. So the correct answer is treatment of low blood pressure, because this clonidine is anti-hypertensive agent. So here treatment of low blood pressure is not treatment of high blood. In the treatment of high blood pressure, we are using this clonidine. So correct answer is A. Next is a 35-year-old male was suffering from hypotension, and after taking this drug, he experienced cyanide poisoning. Which vasodilator did he take? So the correct answer is sodium nitroprusside. Okay, so when when the patient taking the sodium nitroprusside, the cyanide is formed in our body. So the correct answer is sodium nitroprusside. Clonidine produces its action through binding with alpha-2 adrenergic receptor, because this is alpha-2 adrenergic drug. Okay, agonist drug. So this bind with alpha-2 adrenergic receptor. Reserpine is a class of medication called Rauwolfia alkaloids. The correct answer is Rauwolfia alkaloids. So this is the reference, and these all are about the hypertensive drugs, and I hope everybody understood it very well. So thank you.